Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 7, UN System, Pacific Settlement of Disputes. Our topic is settlement of disputes within the framework of the UN family. A dispute arises between two rival contenders if they claim the same subject matter. In the course of interaction between states, conflicts of interest do arise. For example, the interest of a major navigating state is that it should have extensive sea space to navigate. A coastal state with small naval power favors a wider territory sea so that it may defend itself better. States having raw material desire better prices from the industrialized. States which prefer to import the raw material at low prices. A dispute arises when a state asserts its right against another. If a state prevents the ships of another, the state from passing within a certain distance from its coast, a dispute arises. A dispute arises also when the raw material producing country imposes heavy export duties. A situation threatening peace arises when one or more states do something that may occasion a threat to cause loss to others. These are only some examples. Many more disputes do arise between states in the contemporary world. When a conflict of interest arises, there are a number of forums in the UN system to which the conflict may be brought for the purpose of reconciliation. It may be brought to the General Assembly, Economic and Social Council, or to the concerned specialized agencies. The General Assembly may, after the study of the issues by its sixth committee and the International Law Commission, a suborgan, convene an international conference to discuss and harmonize the interests. In this manner, a new law arises to resolve the conflicts of interest. The Third UN Conference on the Law of the Sea solved many issues involving conflict of interest arising out of the claim of a maritime nature. The topic is parliamentary diplomacy. If a dispute arises, the continuance of which is not likely to endanger the international peace and security, it can not be brought before the Security Council, but may be brought to the attention of the General Assembly. The dispute is resolved by what is called parliamentary diplomacy. Even if a dispute is brought before the Security Council, even then it is dealt with by parliamentary diplomacy. The characteristics of parliamentary diplomacy within the international bodies may be stated thus. Parliamentary diplomacy is a form of multilateral negotiation. The forum of negotiation is not ad hoc, but a continuing international organ with interest and responsibilities broader than the particular question that is under consideration. Regular public debates exposed to mass media of communication in the world, capable of influencing world public opinion takes place in the process. The debate proceeds in accordance with the prescribed rules of procedure that are amenable to manipulation in order to advance or oppose a particular view on the subject. The debate is concluded by the adoption or rejection of a resolution by a simple or qualified majority of votes of equal or unequal weight, subject to or free from veto. The proceedings before any organ considering a dispute take place more or less on these lines. First, the complaining party make a speech strongly defending its position and attacking the opponent position as unjust and illegal. The opponent replies in a similar manner in an equally acrimonious manner. The complainant may exercise the right of reply and likewise the opponent. After the series of replies and the other members of the organ who may so desire explain their comments, stand in the relation to the dispute. After the list of speakers is exhausted, the presiding officer adjourns the proceeding. Then the members start consultations among themselves and with the parties to the dispute to find out whether a widely acceptable view can be adopted on the subject. If it is the Security Council that is considering the subject, invariably the permanent members will be consulted, or some of them might take the lead in finding a consensus. When a group finds that it has sufficient support for the position it has taken, it will present a draft resolution to the organ. The organ considers an amendments that might be proposed in the meeting of the organ and finally votes on the resolution accepting or rejecting it. More or less similar procedure takes place at an international conference considering different issues. In the light of resolution adopted, the positions taken by different members of the organ and the public opinion that is generated, the parties may review their respective positions, restart negotiations, or admit mediation by third parties. The end may be settlement of disputes or no settlement. The dispute, however, remains on the agenda of the organ and it is removed by a resolution. If at any time the dispute becomes intense, presenting a danger to the peace, it comes up again for discussion. It was noted at the outset while considering the structure of UN that the primary purpose of the UN is to preserve the peace. If the dispute does not present a danger in the peace, it is allowed to remain unresolved because any attempt to settle the dispute permanently might occasion tension, endangering the maintenance of peace, and enforcement action to resolve a dispute may involve a high cost in terms of men and material resources. In the highly decentralized international community. It is considered expedient to leave the parties to a dispute to settle it by themselves by peaceful means or procedures. When the dispute creates a threat to the peace or breach of peace, collective action is taken to remove the threat or restore the peace. In that process, the dispute might get resolved. If it does not, it is left to get settled at some future indefinite date or remain dormant. As has been noticed above, a resolution is left to be found either by the procedure agreed to by the parties with or without the help of an intermediary or by the decision of a third party according to law given after the parties had agreed to be bound by the decision. The Security Council or the General Assembly is more concerned with the maintenance of international peace and security than with settlement of disputes as a priority. Now, the summary of the unit. The United Nations has three primary goals: to achieve the and maintain world peace, to promote and develop good relations among all nations, and to work together with other nations on solving economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian problems. To achieve these goals, the UN Charter has envisaged a system that encourages states to settle their dispute by developing the process of conflict resolution by peaceful means of their own choice and accords to the organs responsible for the maintenance of international peace and security, a wide range of choice to achieve their desired ends. In this unit, we have described the features of the important diplomatic and adjudicative methods for resolving conflicts. The sense of diplomatic methods is that parties to the dispute, after discussing the issue involved in the dispute, either themselves directly or with the help of an intermediary, agree upon how the dispute may be resolved. It is the agreement between the parties that settles the dispute. In contrast, there are adjudicative methods which the third party is invested with the power to decide the dispute. Whereas in diplomatic methods, the solution reached is usually a sort of adjustment of the differences between the parties, each gaining in part and losing in part in the process. In education, the decision may be completely in favor of one party and against the other. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.